Censoring the facts turns our children into idiots. They claim it's for our safety. I'll tell you what it really is. Removing information that empowers all the citizens. The truth doesn't damage points of view that are legitimate. They're trying to change amen to amen and women. How'd we let them make praying a microaggression?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Dion's Daily Dose. Tonight, we have a little bit of an interesting thing. Our normal face-to-face with me and Shawn. We have a stowaway, a tagger on, an additional voice of reason in today's insane world. With Shawn's brother, Ben, and he's going to share an interesting paper with us, an interesting poll that they did. I have not had an opportunity to read it. He was very mysterious, very, here, you can have it when we're ready kind of thing. So I anticipate it's going to be a good time. Without further ado, I'm going to bring both of them on and we can get to it.
All right.
There we go. All right. Welcome, Ben. Thanks for joining us in the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So what is this? First of all, you two are brothers.
Yep.
So it's not like you have to introduce to each other. What's this poll?
Okay. Well, it's the Pew Reseach Poll. This basically is they spent a lot of money doing this poll. They had 8,709 participants in the survey, with 7,166 registered voters. So this is like what they wanted nationally to see, like who's voting, who is going to the polls on election day, so that way they can have an accurate view of what the polls are, because you don't know who is going to win the election if you don't know who's going to vote and who's going to be enthusiastic about voting. And that's pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a pretty big size poll, because when you get polls, usually it's a large sample size.
I'm impressed by the sample size, because I see these, the most I usually see is around 1,000.
Yep,
they'll
that's usually
around 1,000, and you can find 1,000 people that believe whatever you want. I can find 1,000 people that believe, Bigfoot visited their mom. It doesn't mean that the wider population believes that. Matter of fact, I got a couple of friends now. Anyway, look, the sample size being large is a good thing, and I also like the fact that over 7,000 of those are registered voters. A lot of times you'll see these polls that's like, well, these people age this to this, but nothing about whether they are likely to get out there and vote. And then you got the so-called likely voters. Well, that's a broad term. So these are actual legitimate, registered to vote, ready to get out there and hit the polls numbers. So, and
then the demographics are probably interesting in this too. Because the people to watch are going to be the African Americans this time, because they kind of feel pity for Trump for everything that he's going through. So what's the vote look for African Americans, Ben?
Well, I looked into the demographics some. I kind of focused more on what like the major factors were. But if you look back, you could see that the Democrat or Joe Biden in 2020 had 88% of the African American vote. It looks like now he's only going to get about 75%.
So that's a big jump.
That's a massive decrease.
Yeah. That will help Trump in Michigan and in probably Nevada.
Michigan, Georgia, Nevada.
Yeah, this time I'm not even worried about Georgia.
Right. Did you see the protests, the demonstrations, whatever you want to call them, the people speaking their mind in various very heavy urban areas, South Chicago. Fulton County, they're marching, man. They're like, we've had enough of it.
The people in Chicago have almost Make America Great hats on, and
they're wearing
they might actually vote Republican. We'll see if it's a threat.
They actually said at a city council meeting, or the mayor was speaking or something. It was an event that the elected officials were at, and these people showed up and said, we are not voting Democrat at all. We're pulling our ballots for the first time in many of their entire lifetime. The Democrat vote has been very much passed down in just vote Democrat, Democrat, without really analyzing why, other than because Republicans are racist, is what they're told. But when you actually get into the policies, the way that these communities have been ignored in favor of the massive push for illegal immigration, these massive number of migrants coming in, quote, asylum seekers, end quote, I call them what they are, illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
That are flooding through this country. They're being pushed to areas like the south side of Chicago, where these people are saying, we're done with that. Where's our money? Why aren't you helping us with our bills? You have all this money to throw at these illegals. You're not helping us, which has brought about many of them to say, yeah, we're voting Trump. The hell with this.
And Ben and I have talked about this, how we've had 4 years of Trump, and now it's not as bad. Some people say, oh, we should live 4 more years. Maybe we should just get rid of Biden. So we got that factor too.
Right. Yeah.
Do you think, so how's RFK Jr. playing on this, Ben?
Do you want to go into that topic, or do you want to go more into the Pew Research? It's just whatever you guys are ready.
Okay, we can go into more Pew. What do you have else?
I was trying to remember earlier. You guys mentioned how people have been changing their votes. I thought this was really interesting. In 2020, 18 to 49-year-olds, 10% regret voting for Joe Biden.
Interesting.
Really?
According to that Pew Research poll.
And that might have something to do with the Israel-Palestine conflict. Do you think, or is it the economy?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the economy. Most of what people are voting on is based upon the economy. What's a major factor in your vote? 80% said it will be based on the economy, with 77%. Wow. This is like order of importance.
Yeah.
The economy, inflation is next with 77.
What's abortion on there?
Our democracy was third with 72%.
Was abortion listed?
Abortion is listed, but it's 7th on the list.
7th?
Yeah, it didn't make it till 7th.
That is really interesting.
The border, gun policy, those were the top listings.
Interesting. So I'm gonna put up the actual website on the screen.
All right.
Kind of go through it a little at a time. You've had time to kind of go dig into it. Is that okay with you, Ben?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, let's throw it on here. So the name of the actual thing is that it's pewresearch.org, and the name of it is In Tight Presidential Race, Voters Are Broadly Critical of Both Biden and Trump. That's the headline. Under it, about half of voters say that if given the chance, they would replace both candidates on the ballot. Yeah. So here is, it says about 2/3 of voters have little or no confidence that Biden is physically fit to be president. Nearly as many lack confidence in Trump to act ethically. So that's an interesting paradigm there, because you have essentially 33%, 2/3, that say Biden isn't physically fit. He shouldn't be president. The same amount, nearly as many, according to this poll, say that Trump is going to act ethically, or say that he won't act ethically. Here's the number breakdown right here. It says, has the physical fitness needed to do the job. So we have the orange, that looks like extremely or very, so that's the positive, basically. Yeah, it's, 15%, and then there's somewhat, 20%. And then 65%, so 66%, essentially 65% say not at all, not just somewhat, incapable, or you know how they have the big sliding spectrum, right? That they give you,
Yeah.
some, very much, etc. They just went straight to not at all. Trump, on the other hand, has the physical fitness. We got 36 for extremely or very, and 24 for somewhat. Only 40% think Trump doesn't have the physical fitness for the job. Acts ethically in office. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
we have this. I call this into question. Biden. It says 34% say extremely or very that he acts ethically in office. Another 18% somewhat, and then 47% say not at all acts.
And that's pretty much his Democratic base, the 34%.
Yeah. So
it's everybody but the Democrats think that he doesn't.
Say, yeah. He has. I'd be interested to see the whole breakdown on like how many were like, well, a little, or somewhat, etc. But whatever. Acts ethically in office. Biden 34% say very. Oh, I covered that. Sorry, Trump. 26% say very ethical, 15% say somewhat ethical, but 59% believe that Trump does not act ethically while in office.
That doesn't surprise me.
Again, we've seen the media
exactly
frenzy, Russia, Ukraine.
And now January 6th.
Yeah, now January 6th. Now all these media stories that they're pushing, and the narratives, because that's really what it comes down to, narratives and propaganda. Because as we've seen, January 6th is turning out to be very different than what we were told. There were many agents in the crowd. There were certain actions that were not reported on correctly at the time, and video now is coming out that refute what was being claimed. So I would say the media probably has a lot to do with this 59% number.
In the poll, did they talk about anything about if Trump gets convicted, Ben, of a crime?
There was documents that are, in the poll, they did talk about Donald Trump and seeing if the crime was politically motivated, like if he was being charged with a crime was politically motivated, or he actually did commit a crime. I believe, don't quote me on it, but it was about 45% that said that they are going after Trump. It is basically just a witch hunt. And about 42% said that he actually was committing a crime and the rest weren't sure.
Okay, so it's pretty even.
Interesting. Yeah, pretty even match. So this little graphic here says, in 2020 rematch, nearly identical shares of voters favor Trump and Biden. Percentage of registered voters who would vote for blank if the 2024 presidential election were held today. Looks like 48% Biden or lean Biden, 49% Trump, lean Trump. We've got 1% with no answer and 2% for neither. So, yeah, it appears third-party candidate or whatever is roughly 3%. That's usually about what the third party tends to represent.
There was one state that I saw, though, earlier. This isn't part of the Pew, but I can't remember what state actually had RFK Jr. at like 15%. Do you remember what state that was, Ben? Was that Pennsylvania?
I'm not exactly sure, but I looked at this morning that a CNN poll came out that RFK had about 16% nationally. So,
okay, maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Interesting. Okay, so it says here, it says older voters and those with no college degree favor Trump by large margins.
Really?
Among racial and ethnic groups, white voters favor Trump 56% over Biden 42% by a wide margin. Blacks, roughly 3/4 of black voters, 77%, support Biden, while 18% back Trump. I call those numbers into question just based on what I've seen, but even 18% is a massive jump, and it could swing the election. Hispanic voters, now this is very interesting. 52% favor Biden, while 44% back Trump. Again, the traditional Democrat base, eroding it, chipping away at it. Asian voters favor Biden, 59% over Trump, 36%.
The older voters things kind of surprises me because usually Biden does very well with the older generation.
With the dementia crowd? Yeah.
With the dementia crowd. But in all seriousness, it's usually that's the people that usually vote for Biden. So that's kind of surprising.
Right. So it says here most voters who turned out in 2020 favor the same candidate in 2024. Overwhelming majorities of those who cast ballots for Biden, 91%. So 91% allegedly of voters who voted for Biden in 2020, so all the dead people, they say 91% of them say they're going to vote for him again. Trump, 94%. So I would say the 3%, again, I call it into question because I've talked to a number of people who said, yeah, I believe the hype about Orange Man bad, and I voted Biden. I will never do that again. So we'll see.
I know a few people like that too.
Yeah, yeah. Registered voters who did not vote in 2020 are about evenly divided. 48% back Trump, while 46% support Biden. So, again, we're seeing a difference. 2% doesn't sound like much, but when you're talking millions of voters, 2% adds up.
It's also going to depend on what states that comes from, too.
Right. A majority of voters say it really matters who wins the 2024 race. Yeah. And, we could talk about that for hours at all the things that the reason why it matters. But it says today, 69% of voters say it really matters which candidate wins the presidential contest this November. Now, interestingly enough, it says this is somewhat smaller than the share who said this in April 2020 about that year's election, 74%. Nearly identical shares of Biden and Trump supporters say the outcome of the presidential race really matters. It says about half of voters would replace both Biden and Trump on the 2024 ballot. And you know what? I get that.
That doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me either. If we had the opportunity, I think a lot of people would pick someone else. Definitely Biden. Like they'd replace him out with someone else because
it's pretty obvious that he's not up for the job.
Yeah. Let's see here. So it says here, I'm trying to, okay. So interesting. All right. So I'm looking at the breakdown here. It's all voters. 49% say they would replace both. 16% say keep Biden, replace Trump. Only 15% says this is their ideal matchup and they would keep both of them. 18% say they would keep Trump but replace Biden. So, again, a 2% difference. The differences are small, but small adds up. Anyway. Biden supporters, I was going to make a really bad joke. 62% of Biden supporters say they would replace both on the ballot. 60, this is really like sinking in now. 62% of the traditional Biden voters, people who support Biden, say they would replace both people on the ballot if they had the opportunity. 32% say they would keep Biden but replace Trump. Only 4% of Biden voters keep both. So that's very interesting.
And it's going to be interesting to see how many of those voters just vote because Orange Man bad.
Absolutely. If we look at Trump's, 35% replace both. So half of Biden's percentage, roughly. 35% say they would replace both of the candidates on the ballot. 27% say they're happy. Yeah, let's have a rematch. Ding, ding, ding. 36% of Trump supporters say they would keep Trump but get rid of Biden and have him go against someone different, better, prettier. I don't know. I don't think they asked that question. But so there's a very interesting section here. It says about 4 in 10 voters say Trump was a good or great president. Around 3 in 10 say this about Biden today. Again, very small differences, but in every category. Like, this is quite interesting. I don't want to go through all of these, but basically, the majority. Okay, so the majority of Trump supporters say Joe Biden is a terrible president. Okay, yeah, and of course, among Biden supporters, 70% say Donald Trump was a bad president. So you've got the standard, division there. But let's see here. So this is interesting when you compare all voters. The terrible is roughly the same, 34 and 35%, but 20% of voters said Donald Trump was a great president. This is out of all voters, not just Trump supporters. 20% say great, 22% said good, 11% said average. So 53% decent or better. All voters, Joe Biden. 7% said great, 21 good, 21% average, and then 16% and 34% poor and terrible, respectively. So let's see, what is that? 49. Yeah, only 49% gave good old Uncle Joe a positive rating. You want to jump in here, Ben? Is there something you want me to look at, or just kind of keep going down?
Yeah, just kind of keep going down for now. There it is where Trump's criminal charges, what the opinion of.
Yeah, here we go. Good. Okay, so good. Public divided over criminal allegations that Trump tried to overturn the 2020 election. Percent who say that, thinking about the accusations that Trump broke the law in an effort to change the outcome of the 2020 election. Trump. Oh, I see. Okay, so total 45% say Trump broke the law. 15% said did something wrong but did not break the law. 23% did nothing wrong. 17% said we're not sure. I don't know.
I wish it was kind of divided differently. It would have been interesting to see for each different case, not all grouped together.
Yeah. So, this is, I think this is talking about the criminal allegations that Trump tried to.
Oh, okay. I thought I didn't hear that part.
That's okay. So, interestingly enough, not really, but when you break it down into Republican, lean Republican, 49% say did nothing wrong. 20%, I'm not sure, maybe even I don't care. So 69%, giggity. And then 30%, 9% say he broke the law. 21% said, yeah, it probably wasn't right, but it wasn't illegal, right? Now, on the Democrat side, unsurprisingly, 78% say Trump broke the law. 10% said, yeah, he did something wrong, but he didn't break the law. And 10% said, we don't know. Looks like 2% said he did nothing wrong. So a whopping 2% who don't understand the Constitution. Let's see here.
Is that the end of it?
There's
other stuff that goes into details if you guys wanted to hear more about. I think it's just like based on age and different.
Here's where it's broken down. Yeah, men and women, age ranges. Let's see here. Yeah, unsurprisingly, 18 to 29, still 59 Biden, 38 Trump. Unsurprisingly. The young people, but I have heard though the rumblings right? The rumblings from the, I don't know what they call them now. They're not millennials anymore. They're
Generation Z.
Gen Zs. The Gen Z crowd, especially the lefties who are very, very upset with the way Biden is handling the Israel-Gaza situation and more, are kind of pulling back. We're seeing protests against Democrats as well from their base.
And that puts Michigan and Minnesota in play for Trump possibly in November.
Yeah. Okay, so let's educational differences, of course.
Is there anything else that's interesting, Ben, we haven't covered?
No, it pretty much summarizes it, pretty much the gist of it, that Trump pretty much is leading, but barely by pretty much almost every poll in there.
I'm interested to see. I thought there were like 4 pages. And this is because I'm looking for. So I heard.
Yeah, we're gonna go back to the first page, and there's only there's 10 pages.
That's what I thought. I'm like.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so let's try page 3. Okay, yeah, here it is. So, how confident are voters in Biden and Trump's fitness for office, advisors, ethics, and respect for democracy? Now, this one's interesting. Has the mental fitness needed to do the job? I was looking for that one because only 8% are extremely confident that Biden has the mental capacity to do the job.
Who are these 8%?
Right? Has the physical fitness needed to do the job? 4%. Now, I am going to say, though, we got extremely, very, somewhat, not too, and not at all.
If we add up the extremely, the very, and what was the third one?
Somewhat.
What is the percent for
Let's see,
Biden?
29, 37. Yeah, it looks like 37%
So, yeah, it's still
have a positive, overall positive, or somewhat appeal. As far as I look at somewhat as those people that are like, maybe I'm swayable.
I'm hoping.
I hope. Yeah, I'm swayable. If you present me with evidence that, I'm wrong, I would be willing to listen. So the way I look at it is 21% have a overall positive view. Yeah, that's terrible. I don't know if we've ever had that in history. What's that, Ben?
That's 21% that feel they are confident that he could do the job.
That's nuts. Dude.
That is
nuts. Whereas Trump, 23% extremely.
That's more than those two combined.
Yeah. Trump's extremely is more than Biden's extremely and very. Now we add Trump's very, which is another 15%. So
38.
38% extremely or very, and then 14% again with the somewhat, 13% not too much, 35% not at all. So interesting. Again, same thing on the physical fitness. Vast numbers of difference there.
14
between the two. I do find this interesting. Picks good advisors. They're almost high.
Trump, I didn't like a lot of the people Trump picked.
Thank you. That, you know what? I was just going to say, the first run through, I was not happy with DJT's picks for various positions.
The only person was Sarah Huckabee Sanders did a phenomenal job as press secretary.
I thought she did a great job. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel that Trump could have definitely picked a lot better people. I think when Nikki Haley worked in the UN for that short amount of time, she did a pretty good job then.
That's true. She did.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I'm not a Haley fan, but I can give props where they're due, and I think she did. I think she did her job as UN advisor and represented America, and more importantly, the will of Donald Trump while she was there. Because I believe Donald Trump represented the will of the voters. I still believe that. I'm voting for Trump again. I don't think he's the Messiah. I don't worship the man. I think too many Republicans do. He has flaws. He's human. He makes mistakes, but he's better than,
what we got
Walker
now.
Joe. Yeah. I mean,
What do you call him? Occupant Joe?
Yeah. Resident. Occupant.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. The resident in chief. Let's see here. How Biden supporters view his personal traits.
Oh, this will be interesting.
Biden supporters are broadly confident in his respect for democracy. That's
a key word for Democrats.
Yeah. Ethics, choice of advisors. They are far less confident in his physical and mental fitness. And I'm just going to say it. Biden's not in charge. He's not the one making the decisions. He's not the one who is ultimately pulling the strings. All I hear from this man when he goes to press conferences, when he goes to various events is, what am I allowed to say?
I've seen him say that too.
I've seen him say that. Who should I pick next? Who's on the list?
Or he says, I better not say that because I'm going to get in trouble.
I'll get in trouble.
They're going to take your cookie away?
Right. They're not going to let you have an extra scoop of ice cream? What a joke. Has the mental fitness needed to do the job? Again, 16% say extremely. Has the physical fitness needed to do the job? Only 9% extremely. When you get into it, is picks good advisors, acts ethically, and respects country's democratic values. Anyway, we won't need to get into why we're not a democracy. But here's the thing. Very, very technically, narrowly focused democracy does fall under the umbrella of constitutional republic. So I think that's important because a lot of Republicans will be like, we're not a democracy. Well, technically, yes, we are. I much prefer the term constitutional republic or representative democracy because that's what we are, but we're still technically, but it's obvious most of these people spewing democracy have no idea that there's a difference between the will of the masses and representative government.
Yeah.
A Republican form of government being the key term. A Republican form of government is representative democracy. So Trump draws broad confidence from his supporters on fitness for office, respect for democracy. Fewer are highly confident that he acts ethically in office. Let's touch on that for just a second.
Okay.
What can you identify an instance in Trump's presidency where you can go, yeah, I'm not sure that was ethical?
Let me think back.
Nothing immediately springs to mind.
The only thing that I can think of is with him having his son or his daughter and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, in the White House.
Okay.
And there's been a lot of controversy about his deals with Saudi Arabia through Trump.
That's a good point.
But other than that, I really can't.
Okay.
Can you think of anything?
No, nothing really else comes to mind. Like, everything's been pretty minimal.
Okay. So, yeah,
other
as
than
far
that,
as
family workers working with administration.
Right. And I will say this about that because I had a huge problem with that when he first did it, when he first announced, especially Ivanka, Jared, that whole thing. I don't like Jared personally. That's just my personal opinion. I don't like Jared. And in return, I think he has corrupted Ivanka. But that's just me. However, what I realized, especially, it didn't take long either, is who else is he supposed to trust?
Exactly.
Because all of these people came out of the woodwork with their little daggers to stab him in the back like Julius
I was going to
Caesar.
bring that up.
Yeah. I mean, his administration was filled with moles and spies and traitors.
We talked about that earlier.
Yeah. I mean, generals refusing to do their jobs, calling other countries. These people need to be brought up on charges.
Or they might be, I don't know if they'd be talking about the Russia thing. These are Republicans, right?
It says from his supporters.
Okay.
So it says here, acts ethically in office. 26% said extremely. 25% said very. 27% said somewhat. So the vast majority is positive or at least neutral. We've got 20% that's 7% not at all, 13% not to acts ethically in office. So
if there's a second term, going back to Ivanka and Jared real quick, they've already said they're going to have nothing to do with the administration in the second.
Oh, have they? Good. I don't.
But he kind of needs, like you said, he kind of needs that support though.
Right.
He needs to know who to trust.
Hopefully he has better advisors.
I hope so.
Cabinet members picked out this time.
And I think Vivek will probably be in the cabinet of some form.
So, yeah. Speaking of Vivek, really quickly, did you guys see the video that Vivek put out about? I just watched it and I found it very, very interesting. What was it?
I have not.
About Tucker Carlson.
No.
Okay, so it's a very short video, but what he does, I don't want to hijack the thread, but what he does is he basically says, I may not agree with what Tucker Carlson says, right? But there are people throwing shade on him simply for asking questions. He's being attacked, Tucker is, for interviewing various people. Because, they're conspiracy theory nut jobs, or they're this, or they're that. What's wrong with listening to people?
Or even asking questions.
Exactly. That's what journalists used to do. But what I found very interesting, and I think maybe we'll talk about this on another stream because it's fascinating. But if you look at the way the message was structured, what he said and how he said it, I personally believe that Vivek is the ushering tool, the guidance tool for these Republicans who are not necessarily happy with Trump because they went after Trump, but not Trump. That's who Vivek really is. A young, energetic, new Trump without the Trump baggage. The way he structured it, we'll find it and play it because
we can play it in a future episode.
Yeah, the future time we'll touch on it because I got more to say about that, and I think it's interesting. But views of Biden's and Trump's presidency. So interestingly enough, there's actually not many that say great, who say Biden would be or is a great president. Very, very few, even among Biden supporters. I mean, June of 2020, we had 11% say he'd be a great, 40% good. So 51% overall think he would make a good president. April of 2024, so
this month,
4 years later, 15% say he'll be a great president. 42% say good. So
he did.
Oddly enough, after all the stupid shit he's done, he gained. Weird. But that's among Biden supporters. So understandable.
They don't blame him for the economy.
They should.
What the big talking point among Democrats is. Exactly.
Corporate greed. Everything.
You knew what I was going to say.
Yep. But I'm going to say this. At a time, and I just want people to keep this in mind, at the time of the lockdowns, at the time of the big scare, right? Because there was a period where a lot of people were terrified.
Mm-hmm.
The Trump administration cracked down hard on what's it called, where you market manipulation and you buy up all the
you're talking about
I can't think of the term for it.
I know what you're
scalping, basically, but where you jack up the price of something.
I know what you're talking
about. Yeah,
I
can't think of the term. Do you know, Ben, what the word is?
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
Anyway,
I can't think of it.
Trump administration cracked down hard on that. These people that tried to buy up all the masks and then sell them for an inflated rate, the people that tried to buy up all the ventilators and sell them for an inflated rate, Trump administration didn't put up with that crap. They went after him and they shut him down. We didn't have this kind of thing when Trump was president with the level that we're seeing. And is corporate greed a thing? You're damn right it is. You're absolutely right. It exists. We see it. But how much of it is being allowed / encouraged by the current administration? When you have the types of policies that he's doing in regards to energy, in regards to pushing clean energy with solar and penalizing coal plants and natural gas plants, it's going to affect prices.
Also, supply and demand. There's not a lot of supply and there's a lot of demand,
isn't it?
Yeah, price gouging.
That's it.
Thank you, Ben. So, interestingly enough, if we look at the view of Biden's and Trump's presidencies, this I find very interesting. So, if we look at Trump's supporters, right, percentage who say Trump was a great president stayed consistent until the slight drop, but 42% June of 2020, 42% March of 2021, 40% April 24. Great. Overall, very tiny amount, of course, and understandable, it's Trump supporters. But again, all voters, you have a decent number, and of course, obviously, among Biden supporters, they're all going to say Trump's the devil. But a consistent number that has actually increased for great president, because 2020, 19%. This is great president. June 20, 19%. March 21, 18%. It dipped a little. And then April 24, we're up to 20%. Now, if we look at that in addition to the good, so again, all of these numbers have gone up, with the exception of the terrible. The terrible went down. Again, the dates: June 20th, March 21. Not June 2020, not the 20th. June 2020, March 2021, April 2024. 42% terrible, 45% terrible, 35% terrible. It dropped. So what's the first step? Making people realize he doesn't suck. But, all right, so that's it for that. That was page 3.
You guys want to move on to RFK Jr. and talk about that?
Yeah, I'm looking for him. Is that on this or is this something else?
This is something else. I thought it was part of that.
All right.
What about RFK?
I'm gonna give the name of this article again. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can find it as always. I try to provide you. It is on Pew Research.org, and it says, in tight presidential race, voters are broadly critical of both Biden and Trump. Let's move on to RFK. All
right, let's hear RFK Jr., Ben.
Okay, well, news broke while you guys were filming shows today, 7:30 tonight. RFK is going to be on the ballot in November in California.
Really?
Oh, wow. Okay.
As you guys probably know, in order to get in the debates, you have to get at least 15% nationally, and you have to have be on enough ballots in enough states to equal 270 electors. Right now, RFK's it's close, but I don't have the exact numbers. But he has California, Michigan, Utah, New Hampshire, Nevada, Hawaii, North Carolina, Idaho, Nebraska, and Iowa.
So he's not in Indiana yet.
No, he's not on there yet. He's trying to get on all 50 states, but if he makes and gets 15% average, he could be on the debate stage.
Wow. And
Very interesting. Honestly, I would love to see that. I would love to see RFK Jr. on the debate stage with Trump and Biden. I think that would be incredible. The more the better. The more the better.
do you think that's going to help Trump or Biden, him being on the ballot in California? Do you think it will help Trump?
It's really hard to say because I was looking at polls and stuff and trying to do research with that. And I can give you an example of a poll where they asked two questions, one head-to-head between Biden and Trump, and then the other one with Biden, Trump, and RFK. And with the first state, Michigan, 7 out of 10 of the RFK voters were Trump voters in the first poll. So that hurts Trump. But in Pennsylvania, same poll, Pennsylvania, 6 out of 10 RFK voters were Biden voters. So it actually varies from state to state, which is weird. Yeah. It's not a consistent number in state to state. But I would guess it seems like in states that it's more Democratic leaning, it affects the Democrat more. So it's going to hurt him more in California.
I see.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you get a more wide range of Democratic voters, like a more wide range of Republican voters in Indiana.
Wouldn't that be funny or ironic if Trump got the electors for California?
Right. Because
the left would have
because they were so split between the two, but Trump's numbers were consistent there. That would be
the left would have a meltdown.
Oh my God! It's. Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but still,
who knows? But what I will say is, in general, most of the people that I've talked to who were consistent Trump supporters in 2020, right, who were considering RFK Jr., really pulled away after his VP pick.
Yeah.
Like, I know a couple of people in person that were like, I'm looking into RFK Jr. and I'm really liking, this, and this. I wouldn't be opposed. I mean, I'm I love me some Trump, but, maybe it is time to move on. And then RFK pulled, the name out of the hat, and we went, ugh! Yeah, no, absolutely not. Sorry, homie.
Any comment to that, Ben?
Pretty much
definitely
that's
going for the
everybody got that there was a lot of optimism with RFK, and that optimism has pretty much vanished in a lot of places.
Yeah, I think he's been shown to be, and if not a globalist himself, at least he's not the hard fighter for American supremacy that we want. Now, you can call it nationalism, but anyone who doesn't care about their home is going to get it taken over. It's just that simple. We've seen what happens to nations throughout history that care more about other countries than they do themselves.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anything else, Ben?
Just that I think his VP pick was just based upon him needing the finances to run for president, because he was lacking. He was lacking the money, and that's pretty much why he picked her.
Wasn't she a Google executive, or I'm trying to remember?
She was a tech executive. I can get her name real quick.
It's Nicole Shanahan. That's what I was looking for.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, her name is Nicole Shanahan, and she was married to one of the CEO, the founder of Google. And let's take a look. Who is she? We're not going to get deep into it, but there is an AP article entitled "Who is Nicole Shanahan, the philanthropist picked by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as his running mate." I recommend, if you have a positive opinion of RFK Jr. and are thinking about voting for him, I highly recommend that you read into who his VP pick is. That's all I'm going to say about that. Anything else, Ben, you want to cover or talk about?
I think that it'd be really interesting if he does get on the debate stage. I think it would bring something unique that we haven't seen in a long time in this country since like Ross Perot.
Yeah, you know what? I was just going to say that. I actually appreciated the infomercials that Ross Perot did, where he would,
I don't remember it.
You don't remember his infomercials?
No, I don't.
Do you, Ben?
No, he's younger than me.
No, I'm younger than he is.
Where he'd just sit there and he'd talk about.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was awesome. I mean, a lot of people said he overdid it, but I found it refreshing. I actually voted for Burrow.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I was like 6 years old when.
Way to make me feel old. I think it was actually like one of my first elections. What year did Burrow run?
92.
Yeah.
That was your first one?
Yeah, that was my first. Okay. To get out and vote. Because, I think it was, 92. I'd have been 18.
My dad probably remembers those info commercials.
I
don't. I will.
Ask him about the infomercials.
I will.
Don't remember them. Yeah. So anyway, Ben, it was a pleasure having you on the show. I hope you'll join us for more. I personally, when it comes to RFK Jr., I liked him at first. I really did when I started learning about, his stance on various things. And more important than his stance is just who he was as a person, right? He seemed to be, keywords, genuine and almost an embodiment of Bobby Kennedy Jr. and JFK, man. I mean, it was just boom. And since learning about him initially and then looking more into the various financial connections that he has, I'm not as much of a fan anymore. I'm not even sure that I ever legitimately considered voting for him. I've been Trump pretty hearty the whole way. I will say, if Trump was not on the ballot, I probably would have picked Vivek Ramaswamy, even with that name. What about you? If Trump wasn't on the ballot,
who would I vote for?
Yeah, who would you vote for that ran in the primary?
Not DeSantis. I don't like DeSantis.
No. Oh, no. DeSantis just, I'll tell you where he lost me. The big way DeSantis lost me was that fake ass smile he gave during that debate. Did you see it?
I think, yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Is that?
I remember that.
It was so surreal. I'm like, what the heck was that?
Does the person have to be running for president?
No, you could just.
Okay, I'd vote for Rand Paul.
Okay. Good choice.
I did that in 2016.
Yeah? What about you? You voted Rand Paul over Trump?
Yeah, I told you that, right? I was not.
You weren't a Trump guy.
I was not.
Yeah, that's right.
Until he got in the office.
Yeah. And then once he actually started doing stuff.
Then I realized, he's for real.
Yeah, okay. What about you, Ben? Who would you pick?
Well, oddly enough, in 2016, I voted for Gary Johnson.
Okay. All right.
Really, I didn't like Trump and I didn't like Hillary, really. I didn't really buy into Trump too much in 2016. I was more with the Libertarians, but the Libertarians kind of now present day, they've kind of gone really extreme, I've seen. So and Trump pretty much won me over with running through the office and what he's done, what he did in office really impressed me.
Okay.
But,
all right.
Me too.
Interesting. That's interesting.
I'm a big fan of Rand Paul as well.
I am too. Yeah.
But of the candidates they had, I liked. I liked Vivek by the end of it. But at points, I considered DeSantis at certain points. But then there was other points where I kind of saw some of his flaws, and
right.
But I'd probably say Vivek is probably the closest that I would get to consider somebody.
Yeah, I can see that. That's kind of where I was leaning. If Trump wasn't there, Trump 2.0. I mean, that's kind of the way I looked at the little goofy Indian guy. What I really liked about him, and still do, but what I really like about him is he's witty. He knows how to present facts to counter the narratives rather than just attack. So, yeah, I think he has a place in the Trump administration for sure. I don't think it'll be VP.
No, I still think it's going to be DeSantis.
You think so? I hope not. I hope not. I don't want DeSantis as VP. I just don't. He's compromised, in my opinion.
I don't want the Texas governor either. That's another name they talk
Abbott?
about. They're talking about Abbott.
Yeah. So Abbott, again, I believe Abbott is compromised.
Yeah, I don't like Abbott either.
Yeah, I fully believe Abbott. Abbott is owned. And unfortunately for the majority of the country and our even state and up, I think that's the reality that we have to face is that look at the votes. Just look at how the House and Senate voted for these bills to ship all of our money overseas, like their own. It's that simple. So I think we're out of time.
All right.
And I appreciate the concise and entertaining dialogue, like always. Appreciate you guys joining me tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Yep, thank you for having us.
Absolutely. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Face to Face with Dion, Shawn, and his brother Ben. It's good to see him. So we got a lot coming up. You're gonna have to stay tuned. We're working on some good stuff for you guys. I'm telling you. And I'm going to announce it here. Dion's Daily Dose is now available in other streaming locations. We are on Pandora. We are on StreamYard. We are on iHeartRadio. We're on a lot of places. So if you have a podcast type of streaming service, look us up. Dion's Daily Dose. We've got most of our episodes up there now, and I hope you guys will check us out. As always, though, my focus is for you, my fantastic viewers. I love you guys, and I appreciate the fact that you choose to spend your time with me. As always, God bless you, God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America. Good night.